From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo. Russian missiles struck a children's hospital in Kyiv today and killed at least 3 people elsewhere in the Ukrainian capital, while another attack in the central city of Kryvyi killed at least 10 people. It was the biggest bombardment of Kyiv in several months. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau heads to Washington, D.C. this morning to join fellow NATO leaders in marking the military alliance's 75th birthday.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is expected to arrive in D.C. today, where the state of Ukraine and the presidency of Joe Biden are expected to color the Leaders' Summit slated to begin Tuesday. The upcoming U.S. election and the possibility of a second Donald Trump administration has some NATO member countries concerned that the alliance's staunchest critic will once again control its mightiest military. Trump has repeatedly claimed he would not defend NATO members that do not meet defense spending targets, which includes Canada. Trudeau hopes to bolster support for sending military aid to Ukraine as doubts about continuing the fight now grow in the United States and Europe. David Bowles, the Canadian Press.
Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly will join Trudeau at the NATO Leaders Summit tomorrow. She's in London today to meet with her new British counterpart, David Lammy, for the first time since his Labour Party took power in last week's UK election. Environment Canada says a heat wave is expected to persist over dozens of regions in BC until about midweek. The Weather Office had issued more than 40 heat warnings in the province by late yesterday. The warnings cover much of the lower third of BC, some of its northeast, and Vancouver Island. While temperatures are expected to top 30 degrees, the southern interior could reach the low 40s by Wednesday. Heat warnings are also in place for all of Alberta and most of Saskatchewan, and it's heat and humidity that are causing problems for Nova Scotia, PEI, most of New Brunswick, and also for central and northeastern Newfoundland. A long-running heat wave will again grip the U.S. today, with temperatures topping 37 predicted for large parts of the East Coast. On the west side of the country, Las Vegas set a record high of 48.8 degrees Celsius. Gary McKinney is visiting from Atlanta.
Yeah, we were going to walk up and down the strip, but it's just way too hot to do that. We don't want to pass out and die out here.
After leaving a deadly path through parts of Mexico and the Caribbean, Beryl is battering the Texas Gulf Coast this morning. She strengthened into a hurricane again overnight and has made landfall this morning on the middle Texas coast.
Corpus Christi went into the weekend in the crosshairs of Hurricane Beryl, but the storm had different ideas, drifting more to the northeast and threatening major impacts on Galveston, where Craig Brown is the mayor.
We have issued a voluntary evacuation of the west end of Galveston Island.
That didn't keep some surfers off the beach.
We love to get out there on the waves, get reckless, get crazy.
Beryl will quickly weaken back to tropical storm status later in the day, drenching northeast Texas and then Arkansas. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Dallas.
This is the Canadian Press. In sports, George Springer had a game-tying 3-run homer in the 7th, and Dalton Varsho's 2-out single in the top of the 10th scored Vladimir Guerrero Jr. from second. And the visiting Toronto Blue Jays beat the Seattle Mariners 5-4 Sunday. The Jays won 2 of 3 in their weekend series, and they'll get back to work Tuesday when they open a series in San Francisco against the Giants. The Detroit Tigers swept a series for the first time since late May, beating Cincinnati 5-1. Bo Naylor from Mississauga, Ontario, had a pinch hit 3-run homer in the 6th to give Cleveland a 5-4 win over San Francisco. In CFL action, BC quarterback Vernon Adams Jr. threw for 383 yards and 4 touchdowns as the Lions crushed the winless Hamilton Tiger Cats 44-28. And Ottawa's Derek G, in his first Tour de France, finished third after a hard day of racing through the dust of gravel roads on the race's 9th stage. From the Canadian Press, I'm Karen Rebo.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.